In Jesus' name, every believer said, way make, miracle work, promise keeper, light in the my God. Sing that is who you are. Now, if you haven't sung all day, this is a real simple song. You can join in and say, way maker, miracle work, promise keeper, light in the say my God. Say that is who you are. You got it. I need 10 more people to join in and say, way maker, miracle work, promise keeper, you're the light. Say my God. Say that is who you are. You are a way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light, my God, that is who you are. Listen, you are here, moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, standing in our midst. I worship you, worship you. You are away, miracle promise, the light of the dark, my God, that is who you are. Somebody tell God you are a way maker. You are a miracle worker, light in the dark, my God. That is who. So if that part didn't reach you, listen to this. If this encourages you, even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop. Real simple. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop. You never stop. You never stop. Somebody say even when I don't see it, even when I don't feel it, you never stop. 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 Oh, even when I don't see it, even when I don't feel it, you never stop. You never stop. You never stop. No, even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop. I know it, Lord. You never stop. One more time, even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't. Oh, never stop. You never stop. You never stop. Because you are a way maker, promise keeper. You're the light in the dark. You're my God. Say that is who you are. You are a way maker. Promise that is who you are. You are a way maker. Miracle worker, promise God. Yeah. Anybody know him like that this morning? Lord, you are a way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the dark. My God, that is who you are. Let's sing that verse one time. You are here, standing in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, and you're mending broken hearts. I worship you. I worship you because you've been a way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light. My God, that is who you are. In my life, I've seen you be a way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper. Yeah, my God, that is who you are. Oh, even when I don't see it, your word. Even when I don't feel it, your word. Never stop, never stop, never stop, never stop, word. Never stop, never stop, never stop. Even when I don't see it, your word. Even when I don't feel it, Lord, you never stop, never stop, you never stop, never, 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 never. Even when I don't see it, even when I can't feel you, Lord, you're still there. Oh, you never stop. You never, 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 never. Even when I don't see it, even when, Lord, you never stop. You never stop. Never stop. No. Lord, you are a way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light. My God. Come on, one more time, everybody, lift your voice and you sing and be a way maker. Way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God. Come on, let me hear them sing this time. Let me hear them without the mics. Waymaker. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper. Come on. I know you can do better than that. If you sing God work in your life, come on. Come on, sing it to the top of your lungs. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God. Come on, that's not everybody. I'm waiting on you. Come on. I've seen me a waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, yeah, light in the dark. My God, that is who you are. Come on, just one more time, everybody sing. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, yeah. Come on, put your hands together, give God glory in this house today. Come on, you can do better than that. Put your hands together like the devil said and hit the finger. Amen. If you know God has been a way maker, a promise keeper, a of miracle working, everything that you needed to be. Come on, one more time. Let's celebrate God for the great things that He has done. Amen, amen. Happy New Year, Rose City. Happy New Year. God didn't have to do it, but we are so thankful and we are so grateful that He did. Amen? Amen. How many of y'all really think you deserve to be here? I thought so. If God has done something for you that you couldn't do for yourself, He deserves all glory, honor, and praise. He didn't have to let us see this day, but we are so thankful and so grateful that He did. Is there anybody just glad to be in church today? I mean, are you really just glad to be here, glad to be in the service one more time? Amen, amen. I am just so happy, so happy that God is allowing me to be here at this time and in this season. We're already off to a great start. It took Him a little while to move, but we're glad that He did. He had to take us through some things to get to this place, but we're thankful for God moving. I want to thank you. I want to start off just by thanking you for praying for me over these last 30 days as we got ready to make the transition here. As you can see, we're here without any hurt, harm, or danger. We thank God for that. But I don't want you to stop praying. We're now in a new year and also in a new decade. God is getting ready to do some more amazing things. He's already done great things. And we believe that He's going to continue doing even greater things. So we can't stop praying. Amen? Amen. Just like we don't want Him to stop working, I don't want you to stop praying. Amen? Amen. Amen. I'm happy to be here. This is what I want you to do for me. Over this next month, I'm going to be getting settled. So many of y'all have texted me and called me. Somebody even said they was going to get a switch on me. But I'm going to take this first month just to get settled, learn my way to the post office and to the chicken house. Yeah. We'll ride together. I drive you back. Learn my way to the post office and the cleaners, and y'all let me get settled. So many of y'all have been fussing at me already before y'all became my boss about resting and relaxing. Some of y'all know I've been moving nonstop for the past few months, in and out of town, leaving one pulpit to come to another. And so I'm going to take your advice, your charges, and your harsh sayings, and I'm going to take my time and just get settled. After Vision Sunday, I'll present to you our weekly schedule of what the office hours will be and how we will proceed throughout this year. All right? I'm still available to you at your beck and call. You have my number, you have whatever you need. Somebody can get in touch with me, but I will be taking these few weeks to get settled and to rest so that I can be of great service to you for the next 50 years. Amen? I'm learning that this thing that we're in, Kenny, is not a sprint. This thing is a marathon. And if we start running too fast, we'll run out of gas. One thing about a cheetah, it's one of the fastest animals in the animal kingdom, but if it can't catch its prey within the first few seconds of its chase, it has to abandon. Because the cheetah, though it's one of the fastest animals in the animal kingdom, it has an unusually small heart, and it doesn't have the heart to continue. There are so many people that start running real fast, but because they don't pace themselves, they have to abandon the race. And I don't want to abandon this race. So many preachers experience burnout because they do too much too fast. And we got 50 years to do this, y'all. So
I ain't planning on going nowhere no time soon. It doesn't have to all be conquered in one day. I was telling the men on Wednesday before we got started with Blessing and Brunch, there are some things that I want to get accomplished, and there are some things I don't want to get accomplished because it doesn't have to all take place right now. So y'all work with me. I know we are excited about everything that's going on, and I don't want your excitement to wane. I just want to spread it out. Amen? Amen. Amen. I want to say thank you to everyone. Last night we were at Sherwood. What school is it? Yeah, that place. Amen. Yeah. We celebrated our teachers. Let's celebrate them. Let's celebrate our teachers, our education ministry. Amen. Amen. We thank God for them and for how they stimulate and educate the minds of our youth and our people here. We thank you so much for your sacrifice. To Sister Kim Collins, soon to be Dr. Kim Collins. We thank her for her leadership and for what she has done in our education ministry. Sister Kim is stepping away for a season and has passed the torch to Sister Allison. Stand up, Sister Allison, so that people can see you. And of course, Brother Richie is still working. Amen. Brother Richie, stand up so people can see you. Thank you. Sister Kim, stand up too. We thank you. Come on now. Come on. Thank you. We thank you for what you've done. And what we want to do, we want to get behind our education ministry. We want everyone to be in Bible class. We want everybody to be in Bible study. Amen. Bring your kids, even bring them little bad kids from the neighborhood. Amen. Amen. Bring them silver tooth kids. You know, they was the baddest in school. Amen. We want to make sure we bring everybody so that we can educate them about Jesus. Amen. 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 So we thank everyone. We had a beautiful banquet last night. The culinary staff did a wonderful job. Yeah, the brisket and chicken was just what it needed to be. And then the decoration committee, they made the place look beautiful. So everybody that worked, and we just celebrate them. Then also, I want to thank everyone who helped to make Wednesday what it was. Our Blessing and Brunch, our New Year's Day service. I don't know who did what. I'm just thankful that it got done. So to everybody that had a part in that, thank you so much. If you want me to personally thank you, just tell me what you did. I'll be glad to get there. But we are so thankful. I think we started the year off right. Amen? Amen. Amen. Then mark your calendars. January 26th, last Sunday of this month, will be our Vision Sunday. Our theme this year is seeing everything clearly. I'll preach a special message on the last Sunday of this month from Mark chapter 8. I want everyone to be here for our Vision Sunday. We'll be preparing the church for where we're going this year. Then on Wednesday nights, we'll begin a series this Wednesday called Going to the Next Level. We'll be reading Luke chapter 2. That will serve as the basis for our study this month. And then don't forget, today is First Sunday Fellowship at 3 o'clock, right? 3 o'clock. Some fella from Alabama who just moved to Arkansas is preaching. Y'all might want to hear him, you might not. We'll see about it. But that's all I have. Y'all ready for the word this morning? To those that are visiting with you, we're thankful that you're here today. Thank you so much for your presence. There are so many other churches that you could have chosen to worship with this morning. But we are so thankful that you decided to stop by the Rose City Community Church of Christ. We believe that there's no place like this place anywhere near this place. You are definitely in the right place this morning. Amen? Amen. Amen. Joshua chapter 6. Joshua chapter 6. Be finding Joshua chapter 6, verse number 1. There's not a friend like the lowly Jesus, singing no, not one, singing no, not one. Well, none else could heal all our souls' diseases, singing no. telling you he will guide till the test. Oh, there's not a friend like the lowly Jesus. Saying no, not one. Saying no, not one. Amen. Joshua chapter 6, getting at verse number 1. Would you be standing for the reading of the word of God? Joshua chapter 6, beginning at verse number 1. I'm reading from the English Standard Version today. It reads this way: Now Jericho was shut up, inside and outside, because of the people of Israel. None went out, and none came in. And the Lord said to Joshua, See, I have given Jericho into your hand, with its king and its mighty men of valor. You shall march around the city, all the men of war going around the city once. Thus shall you do for 6 days. 7 priests shall bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark. And on the 7th day you shall march around the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow the trumpets. And when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, when you hear the sound of the trumpet, then all the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city will fall down flat, and the people shall go up, everyone straight before him. I want to tackle this text this morning, possessing your promise. Possessing your promise. You may have your seats. Lord, we thank you so much for this day. We thank you for our time of sharing in your word. And I pray now that you would have your way in this house, that you would use my eyes to see your word, use it to understand it, use my mouth to speak your word, and help us all now to receive your word. I am your instrument. Would you play me in whatever key you see fit? It's through Jesus' name that we pray. Amen. Amen. Possessing your promise. Years had passed since Moses had died. Leadership had been given to a young man by the name of Joshua. It was his responsibility to get the children of Israel into their promised land. May I submit to you today as we begin that Joshua and Moses were 2 leaders of God, but they were called to lead in different times and for different reasons. If you would have judged Joshua's ministry off of Moses' calling, you would have been disappointed. And if you would have judged Moses' ministry off Joshua's calling, you would have been disappointed. Because it was Moses' job to get them out of Egypt, but it was Joshua's job to get them into Canaan. And as you navigate throughout your day, as you navigate throughout your life, may I submit to you, don't judge anyone based off of your previous experience with someone else. But everyone serves a specific purpose and a particular purpose in your life. May I also submit to us today, children of God, that when we look in the mirror, that we should not judge ourselves based off of anyone else. Because we have all been given different abilities and different reasons and purposes to live by for God. But here it is in Joshua chapter 6, this young man by the name of Joshua has been given charge to lead the people into their next season. They have encountered slavery. They have gone through oppression. They have been delivered from that. They have wandered in the wilderness, and now they are one step closer to a promise being provided that God had told them about years prior. Now, I submit to you today that everyone has a purpose. Everyone has a purpose. God has a promise for everyone in here, but on the way to receiving that promise, He has to prepare us for what we've been praying for. Can I tell you today, child of God, that God had to get them ready to appreciate the promised land. If they would not have been prepared for the promised land, then they would not have appreciated it when they got there. Because if you take an unprepared person to a prepared place, before too long the place will start looking like the person. Do I have any help in the room today? Here it is. God literally had to take them through slavery, through the wilderness, through the Red Sea, through all of this oppression, so that when they finally got to the land flowing with milk and honey, they would appreciate it. And may I ask the question today, what is it that God has had to take you through? What is it that you have been praying for? What is it that you have been asking God for? And He's been trying to prepare you for the very thing that you've been praying for. Why is it that you have been encountering so many hurdles in your life? Perhaps it's because God is trying to get you ready for the thing that you have been praying for. They would appreciate Canaan so much better after having to live off of manna and quail and water from a rock. You can appreciate a land flowing with milk and honey so much better when you've had to struggle to get there. Some of us in here have had to work hard for the things that we have, and so there's a reason why we've chosen to live where we live, why we've chosen the cars that we have, why we've chosen to live the types of lives that we live, literally because we've had to work for it, and now because we've worked hard, we now appreciate what it is God has blessed us with. Here it is. They are getting ready to go to the place that God has promised them, this land that's flowing with milk and honey. But on their way to this place, they have to encounter another obstacle. And may I submit to us today, children of God, that as we get ready to go into a place and go to the next level with God, things don't get easier, but they really get hard. God has to take us through some things. With every new level comes new obstacles. Though there are new opportunities, there are new obstacles. And with every new level, there's also a new devil that comes. Back in the day, we used to play video games. I used to play Sega, Mortal Kombat, all that stuff. And after you beat one opponent, your next opponent was going to be harder than the previous one. Is there anybody in the house with me that knows anything about that? As you get older, things get more difficult. As you progress in life, you have more responsibilities. And so although the promised land was going to be a blessing for them, there was an equal burden that was tied to it. But I stopped by to tell you this morning on the way to my seat that when God has made you a promise, that He will also give you the provisions to take care of that promise. Here it is. They are plagued with Jericho, but Jericho is just another obstacle that they have to face that will soon be destroyed. Y'all got time for it today? Literally, if you're going to possess your promise, I've got 3 things for you and I'll be done. Number 1, you have to be an optimistic participant, though you are an outnumbered people. You have to be an optimistic participant, though you are an outnumbered people. You have to be an optimistic participant, although you are an outnumbered people. Would you say that with me today? You have to be an optimistic participant, though you are an outnumbered people. Say it again. You have to be an optimistic participant, though you are an outnumbered people. One more time. You have to be an optimistic participant, though you are an outnumbered people. Watch this. Here they are getting ready to possess the land of Jericho. They're getting ready to go in and take Jericho by storm. But can I submit to you today that Jericho is what they would refer to as a fortified city. Literally, it is a secure city. It is a city that is shut up, and nobody can come in and nobody can go out. Literally, it's a military base. It's one of the most secure places in all of the then known world. If you ain't supposed to be in Jericho, you ain't getting in Jericho. So when they look at Jericho, it looks like a feat that cannot be accomplished. It looks like a place that cannot be conquered. But may I submit to you today, child of God, that when God tells you to go and conquer something, he always provides what you need to conquer. Here it is. Here it is. The text begins by saying, now Jericho was shut up inside and outside. But watch why they're shut up. Y'all still in the house with me today? They're shut up because of the children of Israel. Let me try you again. Let me try you again. Let me try you again. The text says, now Jericho was shut up inside and outside, but the reason why it's shut up is because of the children of Israel. Y'all don't read the Bible like I read it. Let me try you one more time. The text says, now Jericho was shut up inside and outside, but the reason why it's shut up inside and outside is because of the children of Israel. Let me help you. Jericho is a city that is a fortified city. It is a secure city. Literally, it is surrounded by two walls, and the walls are so thick that the inhabitants of the city are living inside the walls. Literally, the walls are so thick that you can put two chariots on the top of one of them, and they can ride side by side and never bump into each other. They have guns, they have spears, they are a well-trained army. But this text begins by saying that the city of Jericho is shut up inside and outside because of the children of Israel. You're not shouting yet. Israel is country. It has nothing. They've literally been walking around in the wilderness for all of these years. They don't have guns, they don't have spears, they don't have swords. All they have is a God on their side. Come here, child of God. You ought to get happy today, because though you may not have the education that somebody else has, though you may not have the credentials that somebody else has, though you may not have as much money as somebody else has, though they may look better than you, though they may sound better than you, you ought to get happy today, because you can conquer your promise, because the Lord is on your side. Here it is, child of God. These people are scared because they've heard about what the God of Israel has already done. They are scared. They are a fortified city, and they know that when God is on your side, there is nothing that can stand in his way of getting what he wants. They've heard about them. Their history precedes them. And they've heard about what has happened to other armies. They've heard about what's happened to other cities. And now they fear that they're next. Listen, you've got to be an optimistic participant, even though you're an outnumbered people. There were more people in Jericho. There were more resources in Jericho. But Jericho's scared. Can I tell you today, child of God, that the reason why you've been catching so much in your life is because the enemy has peeked over into your future, and he sees what God is getting ready to do with you. I wish y'all would get happy with me this morning. It's the first Sunday of the new year. You ought to be glad that God has kept you through some things that the enemy tried to take you out. There are some things that you encountered last year that have killed other people, but you are still here. You can tell the story. You're still standing. You're still making it. Is there anybody glad today that God has kept you even when the odds were not in your favor? As a matter of fact, God works best when the odds ain't in your favor. Because if he allows the odds to be in your favor, you'll think that you did it all by yourself. But if he allows you to get the lesser hand and to get dealt a bad hand, it gives him a chance to get greater glory from your story. Can you imagine how Israel must have felt? They're outnumbered. They're in a place where it seems like they cannot conquer it. But you got to stay optimistic. It's difficult to do because so many times the facts don't line up in your favor. But may I submit to you today, child of God, that you must stay optimistic, even though it seems like you're outnumbered. Literally, if you're going to be a person of faith, you cannot operate in fear. Let me try you again. If you are going to be a person of faith, you cannot operate out of fear. Literally, the facts will scare you, but faith says, I'm going to overcome it. The facts may scare you, but your faith ought to save you. Facts say, I don't have the education or the credentials. Faith says, I still got the job, and I got a promotion. Facts say, I ain't got the cash or the credit. Faith says, I still got the house, and it's the biggest one in the neighborhood. Facts say we may not have the biggest membership, but faith says we can change the city with God on our side. Even when the facts don't line up, that's when faith steps in. Why? Because faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Let me try you another way. Faith is believing in what is not so that it can be. Literally, I don't see it, but by faith I believe it's going to happen. How? I don't know. I just believe and I know that God is going to work some things out. That causes me to stay optimistic unless I hold you too long. We got a long day ahead of us. Number two, you can possess your promise. You have to be an optimistic participant, though you're not outnumbered people, in spite of an obtrusive predicament with an obscure plan. There, got to stay optimistic because in front of you there's an obtrusive predicament and you're stuck with an obscure plan. You're faced with an obtrusive predicament with an obscure plan. Would y'all say that with me today? You are faced with an obtrusive predicament with an obscure plan. Say it again. You are faced with an obtrusive predicament with an obscure. Do it one more time. You're faced with an obtrusive predicament with an obscure. Now, can I tell you today, child of God, when you're dealing with God, many times the things He's going to ask you to do don't make sense. Y'all haven't found that out yet? I know people think that as soon as you become a Christian that everything is going to get easy, that you're going to have everything all figured out. But I'll be honest with you, all of that don't make sense. If we got to be honest, salvation really don't make sense. An innocent man dying for people who didn't care nothing about him.
All right now.
The things that God asks us to do many times don't make sense. And the thing about it, when you deal with God, your paradigm has to shift. He says if you want to be lifted up, you got to first lower yourself. If you want to get more, you have to be faithful over few. If you, anybody in the house with me? He says, if you give me the first tenth, I'll make sure I open up the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing that you won't have room to receive. Literally, he says, if you put me first, I'll put you next. Even when you don't see it, when it don't look like the bills are going to get paid, even when it looks like the first is real close, rent due, light bill due, car note due, you done missed a couple of payments already, but God still says, put me first, and I'll put you next. What God is asking you to do many times doesn't make sense. Watch this, watch this. God says you're going to possess this city, but you're not going to do it the same way you've done other cities. You're going to possess this city. You're going to take it over. But you ain't going to fight this fight the same way you've been fighting. I just told you, Jericho is a fortified city. It's a city that is secure. It's shut up inside and outside. Nobody gets in, nobody gets out. It's surrounded by two walls. The walls are so thick that the inhabitants of the city, the citizens of the city, are living inside the wall. Y'all remember they meet a woman by the name of Rahab. And Rahab hides the spies when they come to spy out the land. And she said, they say, what can we do to repay you? She said, just say, me and my family. They tell her, when we come back, put a cord out the window, and I promise you'll be saved. It's a fortified city. But when God says, get ready to possess it, he doesn't say, take guns, spears, swords, chariots. Watch what he says. Y'all still in the house with me this morning?
Yes, sir.
He says, go get the men of war. Tell them to line up in war formation, but don't bring no weapons. Let me try it again. He says, go get the men of war. Line them up in a war formation, but tell them to leave their weapons at home. Go get the men of war. Line them up in war formation. Yes, sir. But tell them to leave their weapons at home. God, have you seen this city? Do you know what they look like? Do you know what they have? God says, go get the men of war. Line them up in war formation, but tell them to leave their weapons at home. As a matter of fact, in front of them, leading this army, I want you to put the priest. Let the priest lead, and this is what I want you to do. Sister Jay, I want you to get some exercise. Walk around the city once for 6 days. After you finish walking, go back to the house. To add insult to injury, what I want you to do while you're walking, don't say nothing. Some of y'all couldn't have been there. Y'all might have did the walking, but you wasn't going to say nothing while you was doing the walk. I don't know what the Lord is thinking, got us walking around this fortified city. My head hurt, my feet hurt, I got my bunions acting up, and he don't want me to do no talking. Lord, have you seen this city? All of these walls, all of these guns, all of these spears, and you just want us to be out here getting some exercise. God says, get the men of war, tell them to leave their weapons at home, put them in war formation, put the priest in front of them, and y'all just start marching around the city. After you finish your lap, go on back home for the day. Can you imagine how this plan must have seemed to Israel? This thing does not make any type of sense coming against this fortified city. But may I submit to you today, child of God, that every battle you fight this year will not be won the same way you've been trying to fight. Oh, here it is. He tells them, do this in silence. And may I tell you today, child of God, there is a time when you have to learn how to be silent. Perhaps the reason why some of the things that you have been praying about have not come into fruition yet is because you've been talking too much about it. And when you've been talking so much about it, you've been telling the wrong people about it. I ain't got no help in the room today, huh? You've been wondering why all your business is getting around town because you've been telling the wrong person. You've been wondering how in the world everybody know my business because you done told them not to tell nobody, but they can't hold water like an old refrigerator. And as soon as you left, they got on the phone, somebody called and said, child, what you doing? They said, child, don't you tell nobody, but such and such just left from over here. Don't you tell them I told you this, but they going through X, Y, Z, and then they got on the phone and talked to somebody else and just came up and normal conversation. Have you heard from sister such and such? Yeah, child, Sister Jones just heard from her the other day and said she's going through X, Y, Z, but don't you tell nobody about that. Just pray for her, child. Next thing you know, your business all around town. Sometimes we are our own worst enemy because we have learned how to be quiet. And every now and then our mouths can get us in big trouble. Can you imagine what Jericho was thinking? Y'all, back in the day, I went to a Christian school growing up, and days we had substitute teachers, most of the time they played VeggieTales for us. And one of my favorite ones, Mike, was the one where they did Jericho. And I remember watching VeggieTales, and I wish y'all could have heard the insults that the vegetables were hurling at the other vegetables down there as they was marching around the city. But it made me wonder what Jericho must have been doing as Israel is marching around this city for 6 days. Can you imagine them being at the top, looking down, looking through their scope, saying, what are these crazy Israelites doing? We've heard so much about them, but look at them. All they're doing is marching around the city. What y'all think? You're going to walk our walls down to death? You're going to walk the ground down? I mean, what y'all planning on doing? This is a fortified city. You can't just knock this down by pushing. But can you imagine how they must have felt? Hey, what y'all doing down there? Y'all think the Lord is going to blow us over and the Israelites can't say nothing? You're looking real crazy down there, Israel, but they can't say nothing. As many insults as are coming to them, as much frustration is coming to them because as they're getting closer, they're doing what God has told them to do, but as much as they're doing what God has told them to do, it doesn't seem like anything is working. They just keep walking, but the walls ain't wiggling, the walls ain't waning, the walls ain't falling, but they gotta keep on walking, and while they're doing it, they cannot say anything. Can you imagine how they must have felt? Can you imagine how crazy they must have looked? Come here, child of God. Some of y'all been coming to church. You've been praying the same prayers. You've been believing that God is going to do it, but He hasn't done it yet. And to your families, you look crazy. You look stupid. They're wondering, why in the world do you keep going to that church? Why in the world do you keep believing in God if He hadn't moved yet? But may I submit to you today, child of God, just because He has not done it yet does not mean that He has forgotten about you. Delay does not always mean deny. Sometimes God has to make you wait a little bit longer so that more glory can be gotten from your story. I'm almost done. Here it is. They walk around for 6 days. They walk around for 6 days. Once, and He says, on the 7th day, I want you to do something different. This time, I want you to march around for 7 times. I still don't want you to get your weapons, but there is something that I want you to pick up. Y'all still in the house with me? I hadn't put you to sleep yet. Watch this. He says, I need 7 priests to get 7 trumpets of ram's horn. I'm coming back to that. On the 7th day, march around the city 7 times, and the priest shall blow the trumpets. What type of trumpet is he going to blow? Ram's horn. Now, he says, I need you to do it on the 7th day. 7 priests, 7 trumpets, 7 times. Try it again. 7th day. 7 priests. 7 trumpets. 7 times. 7th day. 7 priests, 7 trumpets, 7 times. That don't sound like war. Yes, sir. That don't sound like war. Listen, there were 2 trumpets that were used during Israel's history. You would use the silver trumpet during war times. The silver trumpet signified we're going into battle. We're going into war. But the ram's horn only came out when it was time to worship. If they were getting ready to go into war, it only made sense for them to grab the silver trumpet to let them know we're getting ready to conquer this city. But God says, leave the silver trumpet at the house, get the ram's horn, because this war is going to be fought with worship. Number 7 is the number associated with completeness or rest. Literally, you remember after God created the world in 6 days, on the 7th day, he rested. Literally every year, every 7th year was called the year of sabbatical, or the year of rest. And after you had 7 sabbatical years, the next year was the year of Jubilee, or the 50th year. Here it is, I'm getting ready to go to my seat. Number 1, you have to be an optimistic participant, though you are an outnumbered people, because secondly, you are faced with an obtrusive predicament with an obscure plan. But thirdly and finally this morning, you have to go in, if you're going to possess your promise, you have to go in with an obnoxious praise that turns into an obstructive power. Let me try you again. You have to go in with an obnoxious praise that turns into an obstructive power. One more time. You've got to go in with an obnoxious praise that turns into an obstructive power. Will you say it with me one time, and I'm in my seat? You have to go in with an obnoxious praise that turns into an obstructive power. That wasn't everybody. Come on, y'all, go with me. You have to go in with an obnoxious praise that turns into an obstructive power. Here it is. God tells them, you've been silent long enough. Here it is. The day has finally come for you to possess your promise. Here it is. You got to get ready to go in. I need you to march around for 6 times. Don't say nothing every time you walk, because on this 7th time, when you hear the trumpet blast, I need you to shout. I need you to give a great shout. This time, I don't need you to speak it. This time, I don't need you to sing it. But if you want the walls of this city to fall, you're going to have to do it with a shout. Literally, he tells them, you can't cuss your way out of this. Literally, you can't fight your way out of this. But if you want the walls of this city to fall down, you're going to have to go into worship in order to win this war. Is there anybody in the house today that came to do battle with the devil, who came to tell him, devil, you can't have my joy, devil, you can't have my family, devil, you can't have my children, devil, you can't have my spouse? I've come to worship today, because the only way I'm going to defeat you is going to be through worship. Watch what happens, y'all. After they get around the 7 times, the priest started blowing the ram's horn, and when they started blowing the ram's horn, the people started shouting a great shout. And watch what happens when the people shout their great shout. The walls of the city fall down flat. Y'all ain't happy. Let me try you again. After they march around the city for 7 times, the priest started blowing the trumpets. When the trumpets started blowing, the people started shouting, and the walls of the city fall down flat. Y'all still ain't getting it. When they march around the city for 7 times, the priest starts blowing his trumpet. When the priest starts blowing his trumpet, the people start shouting, and when the walls of the city fall, they fall down flat. In Sunday school, they told me that they came tumbling down, but the text says that they fell down flat, which means that it wasn't no explosion. Literally, when they shouted, the walls just fell down, which means that God had his hands all in it. Is there anybody glad today that God has his hands on you? Is there anybody happy today that God can make some things happen in your life? It ain't got to tumble it's sickness, God can cause it to fall down flat. Whether it's a cantankerous coworker, he can cause it to fall down flat. Is there anybody in the house today that can testify that giants do fall? The bigger they are, the harder they fall. Giants do fall. Just walk around your Jericho wall. What is it today that you've got to walk through? May I encourage you, child of God, keep on walking. Keep on walking. You might be on day number 1, but keep on walking. You may be on day number 2, but keep on walking. You may be on day number 3, but keep on walking, because on day 7, your wall is going to fall. Keep on walking. Keep on praying. Keep on shouting, because the wall of your city will fall down. That's the story I'm reminded of as I go to my seat. Story I'm reminded of as I go to my seat about a little boy who kept getting bullied at school. One thing I want to tell you this year, child of God, as you're going through whatever it is you got to go through, remember that God has got it all under control. This little boy was getting bullied in school, and he came to his big brother, and he said, "Big brother, there's this boy at school who keeps on bothering me. He keeps on bullying me. He takes my lunch money, tries to put me in the garbage can, tries to stuff me in lockers. Every day he bothers me. Big brother, and I'm tired of it. Can you do something about it?" He said, "Little brother, doesn't that bully live down the block? Third house on the left?" He said, "Yeah, big brother, that's him." He says, "Well, what I want you to do in the morning?" He said, "Yeah, I'm listening. I want you to wake up. I want you to get dressed. I want you to go down to the bully's house, third house on the left, right?" He said, "Yes, sir." He said, "But I want you to knock on his door. Stand him up. Ask him to come outside. Stand him up in the middle of the sidewalk. Look at him square in the eye and say, 'Hey, man, I don't want you to mess with me no more. I don't want you to take my lunch money no more. I don't want you to put your hands on me no more. I want you to leave me alone for the rest of my days.'" A little bit of worry and fear came over the little brother's face. He said, "All that sounds good, but where you gonna be?" Big brother looked at his little brother. He said, "Do what I tell you to do. Remember, I've got it all under control." The next morning came. Little brother got up, got dressed. Didn't see his big brother anywhere in sight. Walked out the front door, and there big brother was sitting swinging on the porch. He looked at him, he said, "Go do what I told you. Remember, I've got it all under control." He walked down to the bully's house, knocked on his door, asked the bully to come outside. Stood him up in the middle of the sidewalk, looked back at his big brother, and his big brother mouthed to him, "Do what I told you to do. No, I've got it all under control." He looked back at the bully and said, "Hey, man, I don't ever want you to pick on me again. I don't ever want you to bother me again." The bully looked as if he was getting ready to do something. He looked up and looked back down and said, "Okay, I won't ever pick on you again. I won't ever bother you again." Little brother felt pretty good. Stuck his chest out and said, "And another thing, I don't want you to take my lunch money no more. You better not ever put your hands on me again." Yes, sir. The bully looked as if he was getting ready to do something, balled his fist up, looked back down and said, "Okay, I won't ever take your lunch money again. I won't ever bother you again." Burst of excitement, the little boy turned around and ran back home, ran up to his big brother and said, "Big brother, it worked out just the way you said it would." He said, "I've been your big brother your whole life. I told you, just do what I told you to do. And I promised it would all work out." But he didn't realize that when he left the house, his big brother was sitting on the porch But when he came back home, his big brother was standing in the middle of the sidewalk. Every time the bully looked up, he saw his big brother. Is there anybody glad today that when the devil looks up, he sees your big brother? And all you've got to do is do what he told you to do. And as long as you do what he told you to do, you'll understand that he's got it all under control. Have you any rivers that seem uncrossable? Have you any mountains that you cannot tunnel through? I tell you today that God specializes in things that seem impossible. And he can do what no other power can do. Possessing your promise. We begin this new year. There's some of us that have some promises that we want to possess. There's some things that we want to accomplish. May I submit to you today, child of God, just do what God has called you to do, and everything will work out the way it's supposed to. Just do what he's called you to do. Just do what he told you to do, no matter how difficult it may seem. And I promise it will work out. Giants do fall. The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Giants do fall. Just walk around with Jericho wall. Whatever it is, just keep walking. If you're here today and you're not a child of God, you haven't been baptized for the remission of your sins, we offer Christ to you today to be Lord and Savior of your life. Listen, dear, you've been battling with it. Why should I become a Christian? Why? Because God loved you so much that he decided to send his son to this earth to die for you. I told us on Wednesday that more than anything in this life, God desires a relationship with you. If he wanted you dead, he would have done it a long time ago. You don't believe it? You don't got time for it? Can I have 5 minutes to tell you, show you just how much God loves you? In the beginning, when God made man, watch this, every other creature, he spoke them into existence. When he made man, he put his hands on him. Literally, he formed man from the dust of the ground. And when he got him just the way he wanted him to be, he leaned over and kissed him and breathed his breath into him. Watch what happens. He gives man dominion over everything. Gives him one instruction. Don't eat from the tree, the knowledge of good and evil. Satan comes, talks to Eve, tells her the day that you eat, you won't die, but you'll be like God. God gives him the command, the day that you eat, you will die. Literally, it meant beginning the process of dying. Watch what happens. When they eat, they don't die. That's a shout. That's grace already. Because the moment they sinned, they didn't die. But watch what happens. Watch what happens. Their eyes are opened. They go and sew fig leaves together. They go and they sew fig leaves together trying to cover their nakedness. God comes walking in the cool of the day. He hollers, he says, Adam, hey boy, where you at? Adam said, hey God, that's you? Man, I went and hid because I was naked. When God says, where are you? He wasn't asking about locality. He was asking about mentality. Literally, he wanted to know not where are you, but where are you in your thinking? Adam's response shows God exactly what he's thinking. He says, I went and hid because I was naked. Watch what God says. Who told you you were naked? Literally, he's saying, those are not words that you've ever heard me say. So where did you get that type of language from? I told you the other day, God knows the worst about you, but he still thinks the best of you. And he still chooses to call you by his name. At that moment, he could have killed Adam and Eve. But watch what happens. He tells them that your fig leaves ain't good enough. So he kills an animal, takes his skin off of it, and puts the animal's skin on them, so that he doesn't have to look at their skin, because he's covered them with another skin. That's good news. That's the same thing that he does for the child of God. When you surrender in obedience to him, he no longer sees you as a sinner, but he sees you as a son with the blood of Jesus covering you. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. If you want to be a child of God today, we offer Christ to you by way of faith, repentance, confession, and baptism. Would you come? If you're here today, you're already a child of God, but you're needing a place for your seed to grow. I've learned that every seed does not grow on every ground. But you believe that this is a good place where your seed can grow. Unite with this church today by placing your membership. If you're just standing in the need of prayer, you've had some obstacles, you have some Jericho walls in your life, you need God to knock those things down. Let's pray about it today. If you need to come right now, would you come as we stand, as we sing?
You are my strength, strength like no other, strength like no
God bless you. God bless you as you come.
reaches to me.
God bless you as you come. Will you come? Will you come?
You are my strength, you are my strength, strength like no other, strength like
Come on, is there anybody else? Will you come? Spread time. Spread time.
you are my hope.
Will you come?
You are my hope. You are my hope. Hope like no other. Hope like no other. Hope like no other. Reaches to me. Reaches.
Come on, is there anybody else? It's spread time. Will you
You
come?
are my joy. You are my joy. You are my joy. Joy like no other.
You may be seated on your
Like no other. Like no other. Say it reaches to me. Reaches to me. In the fullness. In the fullness of your grace. The power of your name. You lift me up. You lift me up. You lift me up. In the fullness of your grace.
In the power
Of your name. You lift me up.
Yeah, lift me up. You
Lift me up.
unfailing love. Oh, stronger than mountain, deeper, deeper than ocean, reaches to me. Unfailing love, stronger than mountain, deeper than ocean, reaches. Come on, in the fullness of your grace, everybody sing. Oh, in the fullness of your grace, in the power
your name. You lift me up. Yes, you do. Yes, you do.